All right, what is up, guys? Welcome to the Clemson Owns live stream as we get ready for Week 8 Tigers and Louisville. The Cards coming in doing much better than anybody predicted them to do. You know, this is a team that went 2-10 last year, so it's definitely going to be a more interesting matchup than anybody, like I said, anybody thought it would. Before I get into it, shout out to Pigskin Pete. Had that video today. Congrats on 2 years being on here. You know, you've blown up compared to most of us. You know, I've been on here, man. It'll be 9 years coming up. 9 years coming up before the South Carolina game. I got on here in 2010. A lot of guys that are not on here anymore got me on there. I mean, it's crazy how much it's changed. That was back when there was a college TTC, and I mean, there was a ton of videos, so much trash talk going on. Such a fun time to be on here. What is up, Jack Bonds? Yeah, man, he is all garnet and black. I'm telling you what, man. Out here just to embarrass Clemson. And that was another thing, man. That used to happen on there. People used to accuse everybody of being, you know, a closet Gamecock or whatever it is to try to embarrass it, especially Savage Tiger. I remember hearing a lot of people say that, and if y'all remember Savage Tiger, man, that was he brought it. He's probably in jail now. Lord have mercy. He hasn't been around in so long. But yeah, that was crazy how long it's been, how much the video makers have changed. You know, Pigskin Pete was talking about looking up to Uncle Lou, who is talk about blowing up. As far as college video makers go, he's probably blown up more than anybody. You know, I think he's at like 25,000 subscribers now, which is absolutely crazy. Yeah, that video. EDP, NFL TTCer, he became probably the most famous sports YouTube personality. I'm very surprised Savage Tiger didn't blow up just from the type of stuff he made. He was something else. He was absolutely something else. But anyway, yeah, Uncle Lou got on here, and I remember in 2014 before the Clemson Georgia game, Uncle Lou went at me. I went at him too, and there was a couple more Clemson video makers. I think Savage was still around then. And yes, Jack, I do remember Garnet Army. He actually went to my high school, and pretty sure he lives close to me right now. I haven't heard from him in a while, but we used to keep up a good bit. So, yeah, Uncle Lou, great hate week. And now, man, if you try to have a hate week or anything like that, he's so popular. He probably wouldn't acknowledge any of us. You know, he's a good guy, and I used to think that he was just here to troll, which he is, because we're all here to troll, let's be honest. But he actually has a lot of football knowledge, and let me tell you this, he wasn't as hard as he is now on Georgia back then. When he was in his full troll mode, I thought he was like Chick-fil-A Simpsonville. Hey, bro, you are right down the road from me. Noah, sorry, I got the pup here again. She loves to try to ruin these live streams, I swear. She only cries when I'm on live. So, yeah, and if y'all also remember when Uncle Lou got on here and when Savage Tiger was going ham on here, there was a Steve Deviser who was probably the biggest troll of them all. And be hilarious to see him go at some of these guys today. I think he took trolling a little too seriously. No, Noah, stop. Yeah, he took it a little too seriously. He actually went after some like personal stuff. But it was fun back then when we had all those people on there making videos. Noah, are you jealous? Are you jealous that you're not on here? Go on. Yeah, I'm gonna have to hold on, y'all. I'm gonna have to put her up real quick. She ain't gonna let me. Alrighty. I'm just going to have to start putting her up right away. But, alright. Uncle Louis Thanos. Yeah. Clemson Tom, man. He needs to get back on here and start making some videos. I forgot what it was. I really do forget. Me and him had almost had some kind of beef for some reason, and I have no idea what it was for. That was back when he first started. But I love his content. Bobby Durkins and Pigskin Pete on here now. I hate that I haven't been able to watch as much as I want to. I want to get on here and start watching those every stream they do, getting more involved with it. And I'm finally starting to get some more time, which is why I've got time to live stream. I just got to start getting some teaser videos up too. But it's hard. I get pumped when I make these teaser videos. They actually get me pumped up for the game, and it's just hard right now because everybody we play sucks so bad. And Brazzy, oof, man, Jack, you were bringing up all the Tiger memories here. I don't know how long you've been on here, but the first Clemson video maker who he was on here, I think in 2009 when Don V and BVD and all those guys first got on here, and he was the real USC's buddy. That's the OGs right there. The Reds color. Yeah. Man, if anybody knows what's going on with Savage, if anybody has heard anything about Savage, y'all let me know. I don't know what happened to Brazzy. I talked to Brazzy a good bit. That feels like a whole nother generation. I mean, I feel like this is the third generation of Clemson YouTube video makers, and somehow I've made it through all of them. Brazzy and Savage were that middle one that was 2000, what was it, 2012, 2013 up to 2015. So, yeah, Jack, I wouldn't be surprised. BVD, I will say this, BVD and the real USC, those are the two guys that got me on here back in 2010. I commented all the time on the videos. They got me on here. They had great videos. Just phenomenal stuff. BVD still bringing it here. He's BVD and Lol Tide. I think Lol Tide was on there. Don V's making his Twitter, and I think he's starting to upload to YouTube again. So, us older folks still on here. I've been trying to work with the live stream software so I can try to keep up with all these guys. All the new guys Pigskin Pete and all those guys who have the phenomenal software, all that good stuff. But that was a nice blast to the past. So Pigskin's video was just reminding me of that. I was like, wow, man, there's been so many video makers who aren't even on here anymore that, And also, Jack, Bobby Durkins, I found out this the other day. He is also from around here because he works with one of my friends. So he was telling me about that. I was like, man, we are all right here in the Greenville, that the upstate easily Greenville, all that good stuff. So thought that was pretty cool. All right, so let's get into some of the week 8 stuff. I know there's a game going on right now between Troy and Lord, who is it? Troy and South Alabama. Last week's Wednesday game was actually good. This week it's not. Those teams, neither of them are going to make a bowl. And last week was a pretty big week. It was the first week where there's a bunch of, ranked games. There's some upsets. Just crazy stuff. LSU came out and looked like the team that a lot of people thought they were. Clemson came out and did absolutely nothing to move down the rankings, but it is what it is. Alabama's looked good in their games. Their defense sucks way worse than ours still, just like last year, but their offenses look better than ours. Clemson and Alabama have looked pretty similar. Clemson just has a better defense. Alabama's look better on offense. There's no excuse for Alabama to be number one over Clemson. Definitely not 2 spots ahead of us. There's no logic there. If anything, have LSU 1 and then Clemson 2 and then Alabama 3. But it is the AP. So, it doesn't matter. We'll see what the playoff committee says, if it looks like that, then I'm just going to be confused. Honestly, I don't know what they're going after. But at the Georgia-South Carolina game, y'all, Georgia, Lord, it would suck to be a Georgia fan. I still can't believe that happened. I mean, how South Carolina was not good. And I know we had a close game against North Carolina, but we were on the road in a hostile environment, which is funny to say because North Carolina is never a hostile environment until this year. Max really brought it back. But Georgia was at home against a bad South Carolina team. And they lost in the second half when there was no excuse to. Their offense is, caveman compared to what it should be. I mean, they are still stuck in the pro style, which I just think is, how? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. They have no chance of ever winning a national championship with this pro style. They blew their one chance they had because Alabama was like, yeah. Saban was like, okay, well, maybe we can't win with the pro style anymore. Tua comes in. Now they look like a Big 12 offense, just, like how Clemson's looked. So, Georgia, sucks for y'all. Your season is over. I think Uncle Lou made that video. And the other team I'm really impressed with is Wisconsin. And normally I'm like, okay, well, they haven't played anybody, da-da-da-da-da. Look, they've played 6 games and had 4 shutouts. That's like stuff you saw in 1900 to like 1920s. I look back at some of Clemson's old schedules sometimes, the history, all that good stuff. You'll see Clemson shut out 4 or 5 teams in a season. It happened all the time back then. Wisconsin is doing it in 2019. Wisconsin is a contender. I'll go ahead and say it. They are a college football playoff contender. I think they beat Ohio State. Ohio State hasn't played anybody with a pulse, like not even the slightest pulse. Like Nebraska's probably, they're not, I don't know. They're probably Louisville. They're worse than North Carolina this year. And, Ohio State got all big over beating them. No. Yeah, Tiger Raven. Florence. Okay. Florence, I got all my family is from the Low Country. My dad went to Clemson. And, that's how I became a Clemson fan when I was a kid. But the rest of my family is all Gamecocks. So thank God that did not happen to me. So, anyway, let's get into this week. With all that being said, I'll drop my top 10 when the playoff committee comes out after week 8. That's when I'll start dropping my rankings again. I was doing it earlier, but really right now everybody has so many opinions, and honestly, I don't think there's any way to tell. There's no clear number 1 team. There's the top 5 are all very fluid right now, and they all look very impressive. So it's really not even worth it right now. We'll see what happens. A bunch of stuff's going to happen. And let's talk about the Clemson-Louisville game for a minute before I move into some of the other games. And this week is miserable. This week, there was a couple weeks ago, these 2 bye weeks, man, they are making these weeks feel so much shorter. There's so many less games. There's just not a lot of great matchups this year early on. I know we're going to get some more later in the season. But with Louisville, I expected them to look like Georgia Tech does. Georgia Tech has more talent than Louisville. That's just a fact. Georgia Tech has solid talent. What is up, Mr. You Mad Bro? Welcome to the stream. Georgia Tech is not in the system they want to be in yet, and he's having to do what he can to try to just survive the season. I mean, I feel like they're just trying to run the clock out every game. They don't know what they're doing. They have no identity yet. I don't know if he's really – I thought that Collins would be doing a better job of trying to mix stuff, but it didn't look like it. Georgia Tech's a wreck. Louisville did a 180. They flipped it around, and they're 4-2. They're not great, but you look at how bad this team got stomped by everybody, especially late in the season. I mean, this is a team that Clemson beat 77-16. This is a team that Syracuse beat by 40 or 50. Wake Forest beat them down. NC State beat the crap out of them. NC State wasn't great last year. And then this year, they hung with Notre Dame early on, and that was impressive. Everybody thought Notre Dame would blow them away. We know Notre Dame is no world beaters, but they hung with them. So they get those 2 cupcake games. I think those are the exact 2 games they won last year against Eastern Kentucky and Western Kentucky. Might have been a little different, but it was 2 cupcakes. And then they lose a game that was close for most of the time to Florida State. I mean, Florida State's still talented. Clemson made them look like a high school team, but they're still talented. Don't have any coaching, still talented. So they find a way to escape Louisville 2 years in a row. Then they go to BC, who's been very bipolar and just point explosion. BC's defense has been bipolar too. They put up 41 on BC. And then last week, obviously, going to Wake Forest, who was ranked and looked like they had a cake scheduled until they got to Clemson to have a chance to have an undefeated matchup. But Wake Forest being Wake Forest, oh man, that game looked totally Big 12, and it was a 62-59 win for Louisville to move them to 4-2. What's up? See you in the Valley. Yeah, a lot of turnovers. I mean, that's what you expect out of a first game. First coach, first game after last year. That was expected. But, I mean, you're just looking and saying, okay, if they make a bowl game, which it looks like they probably will, that's a miraculous thing for that program, having such little talent, absolutely no depth. And their rushing attack has been very good this year. Their offense has been very good this year. There's some stats here, and we can compare it to last year, too. I know a lot of people have been doing that. 37 points per game. You look at last year, not even 20 points per game. And let's see here. Their defense is still a wreck, so I'm not even going to pay attention to any of the defensive stats because still an absolute wreck. They've, like I said, no depth. They got a lot of work to do there. Clemson should score over 40 with our third string. But we're going to get a challenge on defense because this is probably going to be the best offense we've faced yet. And I know North Carolina has a solid offense. We thought Texas A&M was, and I still can't believe how wrong I was about them. But they have 1,300 rushing yards already this year. That last year they had 1,600 all year. I mean, they're on pace to over double. So that's just been impressive in itself. Got a good bit more passing yards, total yards, all that good stuff. Louisville is going to be a solid team and a solid challenge. And it's still hard to say with as bad as our schedule is this year. It's to say a challenge for most years. Say the 2016 team, this would be a cake game. This wouldn't even be a game anybody was looking forward to. But with the way the ACC has played this year, and even South Carolina, I mean, they're still probably going to be a 4 or 5 win team, maybe. Okay, well, they'll beat Tennessee and Vandy, so they'll probably be a 6-win team, 5 or 6 win team when they come see us. Nothing special, or when we go to Billy Bryce. But this year, man, you're playing a 4-2 team. That's honestly as much as you can ask for. CU. That's the challenge that Dabo has got to have, and I think that was a problem with North Carolina staying motivated. You've won 21 games in a row. You have nobody who should be able to even hang with your second string on your schedule. How do you stay motivated? Because if you're not, then all of a sudden you're looking like your second string and the other team has a chance. And the best thing that could have happened for Clemson, I made a rant about it because it's always going to be something to talk about, not getting any respect, because it's true. But the best thing that could have happened was Clemson continuing to tumble, get no respect, even after making Florida State look like a peewee team, which nobody else has done this year. Florida's not going to do it. I mean, they'll beat them, but they're not going to make them look like we did. No respect. It didn't do anything. It didn't do anything from last week. You know, after the North Carolina game, that was it for people. And a lot of these AP voters who don't pay attention that much, they just catch a game here or there and look at the ESPN headlines. It just doesn't matter because Clemson had a tough game, struggled against North Carolina. And we didn't run the score up against Florida State. Had we beat them like 60-something, like last year, I'm sure people would have turned heads because they weren't paying attention to what we were doing, playing everybody. But Clemson's not going to get that respect back unless we absolutely demolish teams. I mean, I'm talking beat everybody by at least 28 points left on the schedule. So I think that's going to be motivation. The no respect card that Clemson has, it sucks for those ACC teams because they're probably not going to have a chance. It's not like it was in 2016 and even in 2017 where, okay, yeah, we're good. We're playing all these good teams. We don't need to stay up every game because we played 4 or 5 ranked teams in the regular season those years. We had those tough games. We were always motivated because we know even if we were playing a down team, you got a big one next week. You got to keep practicing, getting ready for them. This year, it's like, okay, we got Louisville. Then we got Boston College. Okay. Yeah, then we got Wofford. Okay. So it's like, it's just such a challenge to stay motivated. It's kind of like, I don't want to compare it that much to like Gonzaga in basketball and the WCC and how they have to obviously stay motivated because their league is trash. The ACC is much better comparably than the WCC, but they do a good job of staying motivated. I think Dabo's going to do a good job of keeping us motivated and ready to go. So honestly, I see no excuse that Clemson doesn't win this game. Like 52, honestly, should look, 52-20 maybe. Louisville would be the team to get over 20 against us. Nobody's gotten over 20. North Carolina got 220. I think that's another thing too. If Clemson can keep everybody under 20, like the rest of the season, and have nobody score more than 20 in the regular season, I don't care who you're playing. You're playing a Power 5 schedule. They're not great, but who else is going to do that? How can you say anything about this Clemson team, especially if we're scoring upper 30s to lower 50s all those games? You can say what you want about the schedule. You can't say Clemson's not dominant and just up there with all those other teams. So Clemson shouldn't have any trouble. If there is, you're going to see me back on here upset. And that's another thing where there's so many spoiled fan bases, and if we were to have a loss or a close game, it's like, can you really get mad after everything that our program's accomplished lately? And this was technically originally last year was supposed to be a rebuilding year to get ready for this year, but with losing so much defense, it's like it kind of is a rebuilding year. Next year is when everything's supposed to come together. So can you really get mad at a team that's won 2 national championships in 3 years, and if we lost 2 in 4 years? No, you can't. So I'm just living in the moment. I'll be upset. I wouldn't say mad, but I fully expect that not to happen. I fully expect us to cruise even without, Mr. Umabra, even without XT. And I assume I'm behind on this. I assume T. Higgins, I should know this, but I assume T. Higgins is good to go. Somebody update me on that if possible, because I've got other stuff pulled up right now. I could look it up. Somebody let me know. Is T good to go for the Louisville game? No, he was a little hurt, but he might have gotten back in the game. Anyway, let's go through some of the other games and talk about them a little bit. Like I said, it's not too much going on this week. There's not a ton of games. I think the games start to pick up and a lot of the buys start to disappear week 9 next week. So there's a lot more games. There should be better games this week. So we got Pitt and Syracuse coming up Friday from the ACC. Sorry, let me read this. CU. Yeah, I wouldn't say Clemsoning. You can't say Clemsoning when we've won 2 national championships in 4 years. They can say we're not as good this year. They can say we choked. But I think, we'd have to do a lot to bring back Clemsoning. I think we've done a great job. We've done better than anybody but Alabama at dominating in the college football playoff era. If you said Clemsoning, anybody who said that, they're a clown. So that's what I think about that. So are you're saying he is good to go? That'll be good. That'll be good if we got T. So anyway, Pitt and Syracuse. Pitt is another team like last year. Pitt could easily win the Coastal. We could see Pitt again. I mean, who can't they beat? They looked good against Penn State. Didn't look good on offense, but they held their own against Penn State. Obviously, they beat UCF, who's not what they've been the last 2 years, but it's still a solid win. It's just always a bipolar team in Pitt, and they're always guaranteed to upset somebody. It happens every year. So they've already got them this year, so we shouldn't have to worry about it. But I see Pitt beating Syracuse. Syracuse, like Texas A&M, that is a shell of what we thought they would be. Ohio State travels to Northwestern, and that was sad seeing Hunter Johnson not be who we thought he'd be. I thought that he would dominate there and have a really good season. Hasn't happened. Northwestern 1-4. Ohio State should cruise in that game. Then we got the noon games. As you know, Clemson should cruise against Louisville. Just went over that. West Virginia at Oklahoma. West Virginia, another team that has absolutely collapsed. I don't think there was a lot of expectations for them, but Oklahoma should have a cakewalk in that one. Florida and South Carolina, that'll be going on also at noon while we're playing, so I'll have both of those up. And that is, I don't know what to think about that. I don't know, guys. I feel like South Carolina has a chance if Helinski plays and is healthy. If Helinski's out, Florida cruises to a win. But if Helinski's in, I feel like they're riding high. Florida is not great. They're just not a great team. They're good. They're better than I thought they'd be, without a doubt. But their offense is not great. South Carolina's defense played great against Georgia, who I still think has a better offense than Florida. Dan Mullen's a great coach, though. I was saying, okay, South Carolina can win last week. We all hate Georgia. If they beat Florida, y'all, if they beat 2 ranked teams in a row and 2 top 15 teams in a row, we are going to hear, Lord have mercy. I'm already hearing, we've already got more ranked wins than you'll have all year, da-da-da-da-da. They're going to think that they are world killers until we go in there, put up 50 on them, beat them by 30, and then they'll go right back to talking about schedules. That's all they got. That's all they can possibly talk about. But I'll say Florida wins in a close one, assuming Helinski is healthy. If he's not, Florida's going to win running away. The cockroach is going to be loud, smelly, and ready to go for that noon game. And they all think that I've seen tweets from South Carolina fans seriously saying that they should be in playoff contention if they win out. And they think they can do it. That's a good prediction, Tiger Raven. I think the S&P, I can't think right now, but the prediction was 27-21, I think, for Florida to win that game. Auburn at Arkansas. Auburn rolls. Chad I'm pulling for Chad, but he has just found ways to lose the last 2 games. Against Mississippi. Well, no, it wasn't Mississippi State. Who was it? Ole Miss. Ole Miss and Texas A&M the week before that should have won both games. He should be sitting at 4-2, and he'd be being loved right now. But instead, he's 2-4, and it's not looking good. Those were 2 very winnable games for Chad. So, hate to see it. You just hate to see it, but I don't know if he'll be sticking around too long in Fayetteville. Yeah, I mean, he didn't blow it up at Clemson or anything, but the talent was definitely much better, and he wasn't going to get playing time, so I would say go for it too. I mean, he was high 4 or 5-star recruit, number 1 quarterback in the class. I'd want to start too if I was him, so I can't blame him. So let's see. Like I said, it is tough to find good ones this week. Man, the whole ACC plays at noon. I'll tell you what. Georgia Tech in Miami. Miami wins. They'll probably find a way to make it close, but surely they won't lose that. NC State at Boston College in the Scrub Fest 2.0. NC State has been another team that's just like, good Lord. I feel like NC State, they have, 50,000 students. They have all the money they could want. They should be a sleeping giant, but for some reason, they just do not care enough about football. They claim they do. North Carolina and Virginia are both full of tons of talent, and they draft a lot of players from NC State. The NFL does. I guess it's just coaching every time, but man, NC State, it's just a joke how bad their program is with all the talent they have around them. They should dominate the state in recruiting because nobody else in North Carolina cares about football. But it is what it is. I would not be surprised to see them lose that game. That's a toss-up because both of them have looked freaking horrible this year, like the rest of the freaking conference. So it's at BC. I'll go NC State just because they're riding a little higher. You want South Carolina to win out? No, I can't. I'm sorry. I don't care what it does. I'd rather see them at 3-9 and lose the rest of their games and have their fans non-existent. So can't agree there, but it would help our strength of schedule, obviously. Golly. Iowa State at Texas Tech. I'll take Iowa State there. They've underwhelmed a little bit. All right, then we got LSU at 3:30. That tells you how bad this week's games are because the big SEC CBS game is LSU at Mississippi State. Mississippi State just lost to Tennessee. So that tells you where we're at. LSU, they'll probably win that game, 62-41 because their defense is atrocious, but their offense is legit. So where was game day this week? Is it at the Oregon-Washington game? Because I would assume that's where it probably should be. It's the only ranked matchup, it looks like, this week. Oregon's been looking pretty good. Their offense isn't what it is some years. They should win the Pac-12, and if they do, they have a chance at the playoff, depending on what goes on. I mean, it's going to take a lot because Oklahoma, Ohio State, Clemson, and then one of the two undefeated SEC teams have to lose to let that happen, and it'll be interesting to see if they all do. That's at Washington, and the most Pac-12 thing ever would be for Washington to go in there and dominate, and that'll probably happen. Washington will probably win that game. They haven't looked great. Who'd they lose to? Cal, I think. They're not what they were expected to be. But, Pac-12 chaos is even more chaotic than the ACC because Clemson always holds steady. Nobody in the Pac-12 holds steady. Oh, man. Minnesota at Rutgers blowout. Temple at SMU that's the AAC has been having a lot of undefeated versus one-loss games lately. And it looks like it'll continue here, as that game should be a great win. Temple upset Memphis last week in a good game. A little bit of controversy at the end. SMU has been a surprise team. Chad kind of laid the foundation to start getting them built up again, but they are really, really rolling now, ranked in the top 20. I don't know. They had to struggle to escape somebody a few weeks ago. That'll be a good game. Temple, I'll take Temple on that one because they're just so well coached this year. Let's see. Let's keep on rolling. Let's see here. There's the night games, or the lack of good ones. All right, North Carolina at Virginia Tech. So Virginia Tech doesn't know what they want to do. They are a Pac-12 type team, man. 4-2. They've looked solid against decent teams, and then they can't beat an FCS team by more than a touchdown. They almost lost to Furman, they're no pushover. Furman's good this year, but they're not to the point where they should be keeping close with Virginia Tech. And then North Carolina, who honestly has a good chance to win out. They're great coaching staff that Max put together up there. North Carolina is a 3.5 point favorite. I see North Carolina winning a close game just because they're not to the point depth-wise or confidence-wise where they're blowing teams out yet. Their last game was that near miss to Clemson, but they've had a week to kind of get that out of their mouth. Or, excuse me, no, they played another game after they played us. I'm sorry. They had the bye last week, and they had beat up on Georgia Tech the week after. Michigan, Penn State. Okay, that's who it is. Gotcha. That'll be a, what do y'all think, 10-6 type game? That'll be a snooze fest. Neither of them have any offense this year. I'll take North Carolina in that game, like I said, pretty close. Duke at Virginia. Cavs bounce back. Duke's always going to be coached well, Cliff, but you just don't see Bronco taking 3 losses in a row. Also a good coaching staff there. Kentucky at Georgia. That'll be interesting, too, to see how they respond to the loss to South Carolina because Kentucky got blasted by South Carolina 24-7, I think. So Georgia shouldn't have any trouble. It is interesting seeing them as a 25-point favorite after losing as a 25-point favorite, or maybe it was a 27-point favorite against South Carolina. So very similar. Doubt that game will be a sellout. It'll break their little streak. So here's actually a better game than the last one. Arizona State at Utah, and 2 5-1 teams going at it. Utah's predicted by a lot of people to make the playoff, predicted by most people to win the Pac-12. Herm Edwards and Arizona State playing much better than they have been. The state of Arizona's looked pretty good this year. That'll be a great game. Utah's the 14-point favorites. I don't think they're gonna win by that much. I think that'll be a close game. Utah will escape at home. They have a great crowd there and a solid team this year. Shit. I love me some Kelly B. I'll give him a shout out any day of the week. Love seeing Mizzou do good. Hate so much the fact that they're not eligible to go the championship game because they've got a chance. They would have a chance. They beat up on Florida last year, and they should beat Georgia. They should beat Georgia now. I'll go ahead and say it. Kelly B has looked really good, and they could be a 10-win team this year. They'd have to do it all in the regular season. All right, here we go. Kansas at Texas. Will history repeat itself? Texas coming off of that loss. So there's the Michigan at Penn State game. Penn State is an 8-point favorite. Penn State's still undefeated. A lot of people a couple weeks ago were on here. A lot of Big Ten stands on here talking about how Penn State would blow Clemson out of the water and was so much better. Based on what? Because they blew Maryland out of the water? Okay. Came off with that 17-12 win against Iowa. They looked good against Purdue, and then obviously that close game against Penn State. They have to do a lot more for me to start, believing that they are a true contender. Do think they beat Michigan. Harbaugh, this may be his last year. Just don't see them going on the road to Happy Valley and getting a win. In that environment, Penn State is pretty confident right now, coming off that ranked win against Iowa. Texas A&M and Ole Miss. I wouldn't be surprised to see Ole Miss win that one. Florida State at Wake Forest. I guess that would be, the second biggest ACC game next week. Florida State trying to bounce back. Wake Forest. Wake Forest can still win out before they play us and be ranked again. So it'll be interesting. It's at Wake Forest. Florida State, y'all know, has struggled historically there. So they got NC State, Virginia Tech. Yeah, they should be 8-1 going into the Clemson game if they can beat Florida State. Let's see here. Who's the favorite? Wake Forest is actually a favorite there. So that is interesting. I can't remember the last time Wake Forest was a favorite against Florida State. Even the last 2 horrible years for Florida State, I'm pretty sure Florida State was a pretty significant favorite against Wake Forest. They beat Wake Forest pretty bad last year. I see Wake Forest escaping Florida State in a close game there. And then Tennessee at Alabama. Yeah, well, Alabama covers. It's a 34-point spread. Alabama covers. Tennessee, they are just so beat up, so young this year. Poor BVD, y'all. Tennessee and Volunteer Roadshow. BVD is a legend, and that poor man has had to get on here and crow way more than anybody should have to. I was genuinely, normally everybody likes watching the videos where teams lose because, that's the most entertaining one, when the guy's got to get up there and crow up and he's all upset and talking about, what went wrong and all that kind of stuff. I was genuinely excited to see BVDs last week when they finally won a game because they deserve it. Those Vols fans really deserve that. So getting to the end here, Arizona at USC. Got the Cats there. USC is a train wreck again. Had a little bit of hope early on in the season. And then Boise State at BYU. Boise's only a 6-point favorite. They cruise. They cruise at BYU. Air Force at Hawaii. That'll be way past what I'll be staying up for. So, like I said, not a great week. Penn State plays. Yeah, they could beat Ohio State, but I see right now Ohio State probably winning that game. I do not think Ohio State beats Wisconsin. I said that earlier. I think Wisconsin wins the Big Ten this year, and I see them in the playoff. They don't have an extremely tough schedule other than Ohio State, so that could definitely be interesting to see. And I need to get on here. I'll get on here. I'll start putting out more predictions when the playoff rankings come out. I just feel like that's like a new season where things start to really start over and get into the heat of it when that happens, of who I think the conference champions will be and all that good stuff. So that is about it for tonight. I want to get on here and talk a little football, talk a little YouTube memories, all that good stuff. Figure out this streaming software, which I've finally started to do here, so I don't have to be filming on the good old iPad. And the quality is probably better on the iPad, but you can't do anything. So that is that. So thank you all for tuning in today, and we'll get another video after the Louisville game. Hopefully a big win. Hopefully we'll have something exciting to talk about as far as some kind of crazy upset, something shaking up somewhere. I don't think it'll be Tennessee beating Alabama, but you never know. So go Tigers, and I will see you guys next time.